just like any other car-obsessed moron out there, I can't leave well enough alone.
What an idiot!
So I went out and did a thing. Well, let me show you what I'm talking about. I did it again. I went and bought this. So for the 5 people that actually came by my live stream, I did talk about what I wanted to do on the channel next. I wanted to have a drag and drive car. So it was kind of a tough decision as to what that car should be. But I thought that since we have a lot of BMW fans on the channel, why not get a BMW to use as my drag and drive car? And the car that I decided on was, of course, ridiculously old, just like the other one. This is a 1983 BMW 733 CSI.
Say what now?
As you can see, now, I don't know what sort of crime scene it came from. Yeah, this thing's, you know, got some stuff going on. I hate the color. Just gonna, you know, state that right out of the gate. It is like, I don't know. It kind of depends which angle you look at it from. It's kind of like a teal green, or a gray, or maybe silver. It's like Neapolitan. It didn't commit to anything, and so that makes it, well.
We're waiting.
Kind of a lame color. I will say this though, the teal with the yellow pinstripe looks kind of cool. But let's just walk around it and see what we've got. Now, needless to say, it's been repainted. I think the car might have originally been silver, so it's certainly got lots of chips, dings and dents. This is not exactly a high quality paint job by any stretch of the imagination. We've got some kind of weird, interesting thing going on here with our marker lights.
Who hurt you? Who hurt you? Who hurt you?
I don't know exactly what the heck that is, but yeah, I'm pretty sure not much is going to be seen through that, whatever it is. It's got a chin spoiler. Looks like it's bolted on there with riv nuts.
That's not going anywhere.
And then everything is in pretty good shape in the front here. Bumper's in good shape. The bumpers, rubber bumpers are in great shape.
Rubber baby bunkers!
Chrome looks good. Everything looks pretty nice shape. And of course these tail lights over here, they're all cracked up and stuff, but kind of in one piece. And marker light on this side looks a lot better than on the other side. The panels are all straight. The car doesn't seem to have been in any sort of accident that I can tell. Pretty sure that you could tell the difference between that and that. So I'm sure we've got some fillage going on in here. We'll have to see. The jacking points on both sides here are complete garbage. Somebody didn't know how to jack this thing up properly. So the nice thing is very little rust. That's what I was looking for. Pretty much rust free. Everything is pretty straight. Has chromage here on the mirrors. You can see it's about as lumpy as grandma's butt. So I'm not sure exactly what all this nice white stuff is around the edges. When we move in a little farther back here, they were nice enough to paint the sunroof closed, which is a heck of a nice touch.
You look great. You look great. You look great.
I'm not exactly sure how they did this, but we're gonna go inside to the headliner and see if we can figure that out. But for a drag and drive car or any kind of drag racing car, we don't really want the sunroof anyways. So we probably would have welded this up. Now we just have it painted shut. The chrome on this is actually in pretty good shape, no matter where you look. That is, unless of course you look at the door handles. They're all pitted on the top and everything. So they could use a replace, but we'll see what happens. Every single rubber gasket on this is just rock hard. Every single one. So there is that. This door opens very difficult. I think it's gonna need some WD-40 love, but it's tight.
Tight, yeah!
And it closes properly. So there is that. Like I said, the seals here around the rear window are all cracked. Just rock hard. Rock hard.
That's what she said.
Around the back here, it does have the ducktail, which is very cool. This is a pretty expensive piece to find if you wanted to add it later. The rear bumper covers and the bumper here, all in amazing good shape. The tail lights look to have some rusting down here at the bottom. Tail lights leak, of course, because they do on all these cars. So you can see there's probably going to be some work in there, but mostly it's just the tail lights that are rusted. So we might have to see if we can find something to replace those. Rubber again on this side, all in pretty good shape, and down this side you could see pretty good shape. Nice little gap here on the door, and that's mostly because, well, we've got seals hanging down. Nothing really fits, and I think this door just needs to be adjusted. But there you go. I do like the wheels on this thing. These are definitely not cheap wheels if you wanted to buy them. Got some paint bubbling here. But overall, the body is in decent shape, at least as far as I can tell now.
You're trying to convince me or yourself?
Once we bust out the wire wheel, I might be singing a different tune, but I did at least check the underside of the car.
Personally, before I'm on the job, I like to give my undercarriage a bit of a how's your father.
And there's very, very minimal surface rust. But you might be asking yourself, what engine is in this thing? Well, you know, let's just, because I never started this when I picked it up, I wouldn't want to break the streak. So, according to the seller, the car ran a couple of months ago.
You sure?
So, we know what that means. But we can check the trunk here and see if maybe there's some evidence of any kind of work going on. So let's go over here and we'll just pop the trunk. Here we go. And it looks like,
I can almost see it.
let me get a light in here for you. Well, it looks like we got quite a bit of stuff in here. So let's take a look. We have some sort of panel here. Looks like we have the AC compressor in here. Some plugs, belt, fun. Oh, the distributor. So I'm gonna run without that. Oh, well, huh. The gas pedal.
What a piece of junk!
That's fun. That's fun. We got some wiring. That's also fun. Lots of little bits in here. Oh, the radiator shroud. Great. Some sort of a bottle back there. Could be for the windshield wiper fluid, it looks like. Got our first aid kit in here. I don't know what's in there. Some rubber seals. They're apparently trying to get things to seal. Let's see what's in our nifty little tool kit here, if anything. Well, we've got some tools. Not all, but some. Pretty rusty. Same kind of condition that they were in the 7. It's better to have some than none.
You sure about that?
As you can see, no light on here. Tells you a lot why the car didn't run. It looks like we've got... Now this looks like the cover for the door, for the seats. We got some brake parts in here. This does have 4-wheel disc brakes. Kind of cool. Well, that's always nice as well. I know what this is. This is kind of holds together the spark plug wires. So it looks like a lot of things that should be in the engine are in here.
Nah, close enough.
I wonder exactly what that is. Well,
That's all I have to say about that.
let's go take a look at what's in the engine compartment.
Oh no, oh no.
That's gonna have to fix that problem. There we go. One problem down.
Is it though?
And you can see here, exact same engine that we had in the 7 Series. Yeah, we do have a cover on there. I don't know what that extra one is for. Some differences in this car from the other one. Power steering and the overflow for the radiator are moved up off of the firewall. This firewall looks shorter than the one in the 7 Series. So none of this stuff is packed over here. We got braking stuff. Looks like it's leaking very nicely over here. It is, as you can see by the second dipstick. It is. This one is an automatic. We've got some cables here that go down to the bell housing down there. I know what those are and how much fun they are to replace, but they're not put back in where they're supposed to be. You can see we're missing a battery.
Yep, there's your problem.
First thing I did when I got it home, put it on the tender, try to juice up the battery a little bit.
Well, I'll give you that one.
But everything looks kind of in place here.
Wait just a second.
It looks like a lot of things that should be in the engine are in here.
Michael, you know better than that.
And over here, got a windshield washer bottle they put in here. I don't know where that other bottle would have went. Normally, it would be mounted right here, at least on my 7. Looks like this is barely on there. That's always nice. The plug wires are just kind of running willy-nilly under here. And the distributor is on here, which is nice. It does have the 5 billion temperature sensors in here because, you know, none of them will work, but it does have them. And we've got broken valve cover cap.
Hey, do you want me to check the trunk?
We've got some kind of interesting little adjuster there for the no gas pedal. At least no gas pedal that I know of.
It's in the trunk.
Everything else in here looks pretty much identical to what we had in the 7 Series. Same intake, same piping, same hosing, same tubing. Well, this is rock freaking hard. Luckily I have replacements for this and this, I think. We'll take a look at the air cleaner. Let's see what we got going on in here. Yeah.
3 hours later.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
I might have to take it off of this. I can already see a crack there. Let's pull off the air cleaner here.
20 minutes later.
Well, that looks brand spanking new. That's interesting.
No! God, please, no! No!
Oh, well, that's interesting. I'm not sure how that's gonna work. Wow. One thing at a time here. Let's get our mass airflow sensor connected up again. But it probably would have had massive air leaks, even if it did. And these cars do not like air leaks. Everything on this car, shockingly, is a oily grease pit. Didn't mean to fix anything, accidentally did.
I know what's wrong with it. Ain't got no gas in it.
There's no rubber hose here. This should be part of the ventilation, so this is just a vacuum leak. That's great. Overall, looks in pretty decent condition. We got lots of wires down here that are just connected to nothing. Normally, oh wow. And these wires are not pushing on there the way that they're supposed to either. We got our work cut out for us on here. Normally these are for air conditioning stuff, but also for the fluid filler bottle. Let's see, I don't know. This does have the auxiliary fan in it. So anyway, everything in here looks like it should work. Don't see any smoking guns in here. It's all here.
Check the trunk.
Let's take a look inside the car.
Couldn't be worse.
All right. So we've got some funky seat covers. This obviously was the original leather and original color, just like mine. Door cards. Doors seem to be in pretty decent shape. Not horrible.
Please disperse. Nothing to see here.
You know, I'm thankful that these seats have covers. It looks like we've got new floor mats, which probably means everything leaks, and they're covering up holes. Some kind of weird thing sticking out here. We got some wires. It appears that our column is disassembled, which means that well, something in there is probably not working. That's fun. Much more basic than the 7 Series. Has the same onboard computer that will never work in the 7. Simple, hot, cold. Looks like this one is broken. Big shocker there. Simple vents. And the cluster. Let's see. 213,000 miles. So this thing has seen some miles.
Well, Gene, we rode him hard. Let's put him away wet.
It's got all your power. These rear windows actually are power windows. That's not opening. What we got here in our glove box? Oh my. Well, that's a mess. Looks like I've worked on this car. There are 2 ECUs in there. Lots of wiring floating around. That's gonna be fun. Fun to figure out.
Maybe don't tell us any more of your fun ideas.
Well, you can close. I know you can. Hey. There we go. Door panel on that side. A little flimsy there, but seems like it's all there. I don't know what's going on up here. You think our sunroof will work? Oh, well, there's no wires connected to it. So there's that. Got an interesting handmade mat up here. And back in the back seat, we've got the same seat covers. And it looks like up there, where there used to be carpet, well, it's all pretty much gone. And I think maybe there was a water leak up there or something. Hard to say. I know these windows do supposedly go down. They have some up and down thingies there. But yeah, the interior isn't half bad, and it is actually missing the go pedal. So that one will come in handy in the trunk. Oh, look at this. Some nice little bolts holding this on, which I have a feeling will be in there a lot.
I was wrong. This is Bush.
So that's your introduction. You now know as much about this car as I do. So yeah, now we just got to get it to run so we can take it to the track and see what it does in stock form with 230,000 miles.
Sure, Dan.
This car only had 189 horsepower, just like the one that I have in that beast out there. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, let's see if we can get it to start.
Who's we? You got a turd in your pocket?
The first thing I'm gonna do is learn a little bit more about the condition of this engine, since it does seem to have a few extra miles on it. So we're gonna pull the plugs, we're gonna try to turn it over, see if we actually get some movement. Now I'm not gonna use the starter to try to turn it over just yet. We're gonna try to turn the crank. But let's pull some plugs and take a look and see what we get there. Of course, to do that, well, the first thing I'm gonna do is undo all this stuff I put back in here. Yeah, I guess I don't really need to. Take the plugs out. A BMW does come with tools to remove spark plugs. Don't look quite as nice as they did on the 7, but they're gonna work all the same. Plugs smell a lot like gas, which probably means it wasn't sparking. Number 6. Now I'm just gonna leave the plugs out for now, because that'll make it a heck of a lot easier. Try to manually turn over this engine. It's again smells like gas. Doesn't look fouled. Pretty normal. It's obvious somebody was trying to get this thing started, just never figured it out. Because of course there's a lot of really fun ways that this car can not start. But I have some suspicions. More of the same. Well, at least we know it was getting gas. The other positive thing is, it doesn't smell like bad gas. These plugs all look really new. Let's go ahead and see if we can accessory belt this engine to turn over. Nope, doesn't look like it. Let's get ourselves a ratchet. All right, I gotta get underneath and turn the crank bolt. But you guys can watch from up here where it's nice and safe and see if I get it. We'll see. Well, I'm not gonna remove the radiator to try to turn it over, so there we go. All right, so since we can't turn the crank with a wrench, we're gonna have to turn it over using the starter. But I don't want to be pumping fuel into this thing while it's cranking over. So according to the wiring diagrams, this is the fuel pump relay and this is the purge valve relay. However, in my other car, the green was always the fuel pump relay. So since we aren't going to need the purge valve to turn it over either, we're just going to go ahead and pull both of these relays so that we're not going to be getting any fuel. Because I got to be honest, I'm not super confident. Although those are the fuel pump lines, I can pretty much see them. So we'll go ahead and pop these off. And we should be good to go. Either way. There we go. So let's put a battery in this thing and turn it over. Plugging that in did absolutely nothing. So, not exactly sure what that means. But, I don't know. Let's try to turn it over. I'll turn you guys over here so you can see that. Let's see what happens. No buzzing. No lights. Not a good sign. Still getting nothing inside. So what I'm gonna do is test some we're gonna test some of these and see if we've got any continuity issues in any of the fuses. So to test your fuses, you're gonna have like a continuity mode. That's all that is. And then all it's gonna do is beep when there's continuity. And then for fuses like this, you just put it across each end. And that's how you test them. It's pretty simple. So everything tests out properly. We don't have any blown fuses here. So it's gonna have to be somewhere in that wiring mess that's underneath the dashboard. Let me show you what we've got.
Do we have to?
All right, so we've got the column all apart, which is the first red flag. We have this weird thing here, which somebody told me was like a connection that has something to do with disabling the rear windows, but who really knows? We got wires hanging out here. Switch over here doesn't do anything. Supposedly, he said they converted this to like a push button start. That may be the case, but when you turn the key, irregardless, you should get power in the interior, and we're getting nothing. I'm not getting lights on the dash, nothing. So we got to figure that out first. I'm gonna pull this cover off and see what we got going on. So we have what looks like 2 battery cables here.
It's so thick.
And then we have what looks like some sort of a start button switch. It appears to go maybe out to the starter. So I'm not really sure whether our key is doing anything but unlocking the steering wheel. And I see these going through here, and I'm kind of fascinated to know what they do. So let's go see if we could trace these. All right, so here's what they are. There are these 2 wires here. One of them goes directly to the positive, and then the other one comes down and looks like it connects to all the others. So what that essentially means is it's a full power cutoff switch. But of course, if we look at it, well, it's not cutting anything off. And that's because this key right here was in the trunk.
Hey, the keys are in the trunk.
So it's not going to do anything. So first thing I'm going to do is disconnect this push button from here and then hook this up so we get power, and we're going to, you know, see if we get power. So let's try that. Now, needless to say, I have the battery disconnected here.
Always safety first.
If we're doing this right, this should give us power to the car. I don't know why you would do this.
That guy's hilarious.
So let's just leave that off. Let's plug the battery in and we'll see what happens. All right, our battery is plugged in. Let's see what happens here. Well, now we should have power, theoretically. We got lights in the trunk, so that's something. Let's see if the key actually does anything. Oh, well, Well, it does. It activates our alarm system.
10 seconds later. 5 minutes later. 11 minutes later.
Got full lights now. I'm assuming that's some sort of a horn button.
Man, is he dumb.
So the key does something, but it doesn't start. It doesn't turn the car over.
Buzz, 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 buzz.
So maybe that's what this is for. So the next thing I'm going to do is connect this push button to there and see if we can't start the car or turn it over. There's no plugs in it. Well, I'm assuming that this wire just goes to the starter and then that'll start. But let's see what happens here. I'm gonna put this in here, turn that down, see if we can turn it over here. Oh,
60% of the time, it works every time.
well, let's see if that's actually doing anything. All right, sounds like it's doing things. So let's check for spark. All right, I think that might be grounded. It's hard to say. Let's get you down in there. All right, you got to tell me if there's any spark there.
Nope, not at all.
Any spark? What'd you see?
Oh man, that is way too much pressure!
I didn't see any spark. I don't know if you guys did, but that means we're not getting spark. So there are a lot of things that can cause a no spark in this car. However, when we take a look at the condition of the car here real quick, these two wires go to the crank sensor, and the fact that they're not in here, and I looked at them down there on the transmission and they look like they're relatively new, leads me to believe that they replaced these. Thank you very much, because that job sucks. So if it's not this, then there are two things that it could be. It could be the main relay, or it could be the OBC. Now the OBC is the onboard computer, and it has its own start relay where if someone's trying to steal the car, well, it will cause it not to happen. So the OBC is right here. You guys may remember that I have all kinds of problems with it on my other car, and I have it jumpered. And of course that sits in right over here somewhere, or actually I think it's right up here. So the OBC, in my opinion, is kind of like that last resort. That's the thing that nobody ever checks, and I have a funny feeling that that's what it is. Now the beautiful thing is we could test the OBC through the main relay, so I think that's what I'm going to do now. And there's our main relay, and it has numbers written on here that tell us what to test. Alright, so pin 86 is the one we need. It's this one here.
Oh, here we go again.
This one right here. So we're going to key on and we're going to check for 12 volt right there. And we've got 10 volts there, which means we've got decent voltage there. It's not 12 volts, but do we have 12 volts here? I don't know. We got close to 12 volts. So we're getting what we should get there. All right, I've got another main relay installed. Let's take a look at what the spark does here.
Please don't ask us to help. Please don't ask us to help.
We get anything?
I don't know.
All right, so where are we at with troubleshooting this old BMW? Well, right here we have the main jumper jumped. This jumps the onboard computer and also the main starting relay. We ohmed out these two things. This is the crank position sensor and the speed sensor, and they check out good. Still no spark. We ohmed out our coil here and it checked out not perfect, so I replaced it with the one from my old 7 series right there, which still checks out perfect. Still no spark. So we're kind of running out of things, to be honest with you. We basically have the ECU, which potentially is still not functional. We still have some wiring stuff in there which could be causing issues, and actually could be causing the ECU to not start up properly. And the last thing we have is a pin that occasionally can get knocked off the flywheel if they went and had the flywheel turned, which would cause the crank position sensor not to read properly. That's kind of the worst possible case scenario, and we don't really want to think about that right now.
Well, now that we know what the problem is.
So I think we're gonna play with the ECU a little bit. I think we also kind of have a weak battery condition, so we may have to just go and replace this battery. Right now I'm charging this one again, but it doesn't hold a charge very long, and I think it's just weak. So that might be on the agenda as well. I did make life easier by extending my push button start out here to make it really easy to see if the spark plugs are sparking.
Can we go now?
But we are getting close to the end of our troubleshooting for the spark, and it doesn't seem like we've found anything. So we're gonna kind of keep plugging away. All right, so I've gone through all of the troubleshooting steps on the no start condition on this beast right here, and well, isn't the worst case scenario always the scenario that you find? So generally speaking, let me run through all of the things that can cause a no start condition on this car. There is the main relay, which is this right here, which is removed. Now the main relay gets power from the onboard computer and the ignition, and that comes into these 2 ports right here and then flows through there. So we have it jumpered so that if it's not getting power from the onboard computer or from the ignition, it doesn't matter, it's still going to start. So that problem is fixed, theoretically. At least it's out of the way. We know it can't be causing our no start or our no spark problem. Our coil's been tested, and I did replace it with another coil that was giving me better readings, but this can be the cause of a no start problem. Now of course, you always have somebody not putting a distributor on right and all that sort of stuff, and plug wires and all that. So I checked the condition of that, and I'm pretty sure that the person who installed this distributor and all that stuff did a fine job. We won't know for absolutely 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure that they're at least not a moron. The last piece of the puzzle that can cause a no start condition are these 2 sensors right here. Now really only one of them would cause a no start, and that would be the reference sensor. And I don't remember whether it's the gray or the black. It doesn't really matter. You do have to have these in the proper slot, and so there's a B and a D marked on the bell housing for each of these, and one goes into the gray plug and one goes into the black one. I've already verified that that is correct. I've also ohm metered these out, and they look like they are functional. However, there is one other piece of the puzzle that is relatively common on these cars, especially the automatic, that can cause a no start condition. And well, it's the worst case scenario. Let me show you what I've found.
Boring.
And we're gonna come on over here to our little transmission hole.
Ugh. Brother, ugh.
Right there. And let me get you some light so you can see what we're working with here. Boom. And there is a little nubby there, as you can see. And that little nubby goes to these reference sensor. And the reference sensor is this one right here, which would read a signal off of this. The problem, as you can see there, is that's kind of broken off. That's kind of broken off the tip.
Just a little tip.
So it's not going to send any signal to our reference sensor there, which will tell the car exactly where it is on its rotational cycle. So that is the reason why our car is not starting.
You sure about that?
And there's actually a way to test that as well. Oh, and we're also leaking a busload of transmission fluid down here from somewhere. We're gonna have to figure that out. But for now, let's just get this thing started. So our reference pin is broken off of our flywheel for the transmission. And that's a real problem. So this picture right here is what that reference pin is supposed to look like. Now the plan for this car is to be a race car. And the engine that's in this car is not a race engine. However, I do want this engine to run so we can find out how fast this car is before we do anything to it. And that means we're gonna have to get it started. But the problem there is, well, that flywheel is like $400. And for $400, that's a good way towards the engine that I'm gonna put in here. It just doesn't make any sense. So we're going to try, and the key term here is try, but we're gonna try to replace that little pin on there and see if we can get it to actually start. And I don't want to take this transmission out because that's a whole heck of a lot of work and we're gonna have to do it later. But for now, that is not a thing that is in the cards. So what I'm going to attempt to do is grind off the old pin from the flywheel and weld on a new pin. And we're gonna use some plate to create a new pin. And I'll walk you through the process and we'll see if it works. So, you know what? The first thing I have to do is go down and measure the width of the pin, or what's left of the pin that I have, so I know what size plate I need to get. So I just measured it and it looks like a 1/4 inch plate should do the trick. Now, I've also got some other measurements that I can take off of what's left of my pin. I really wish that I had the other half of what broke off so I'd know for sure. But the rest I can kind of get off of this picture right here because we have the width of the actual flywheel teeth on here and we can tell exactly where the end of the pin is supposed to be positioned. Will be like right at the edge of those teeth. So there's a lot of measurements that I can discern from the picture and what's left. And we're just gonna wing it and do the best we can because I don't really have any idea whether this is gonna work, whether I can actually grind that off while it's on the car, or especially whether I can weld something on there that's going to serve as our new pin. All of these things, well, you guys know, I'm just a guy. I'm not a welder, I'm not a mechanic, I don't know much of anything. So we're gonna figure it out as we go along, and I'm just hopeful that I can get some tacks on there that will stick this piece to it well enough for it to get the reference signal that we need. So after exhaustive measuring on the images that I have and the stuff down in the flywheel area, this is what I came up with. And I think this is about as close as I'm gonna be able to get without actually physically having one here. And I'm really glad I measured, because I can almost guarantee that if I hadn't measured, I would have made it a lot bigger than what you see here.
That's what she said.
But we're gonna cut this out and we're gonna put it on this 1/4 inch plate here, and we're gonna try to use some cutting wheels to make that. So let's see how this goes. And I'm just gonna cut a bigger piece than what I need, because grinding and all that stuff, yeah. So let's just cut that off there and then we can start working it. That's hot. But it's going to be closer to the size we need. And we'll probably draw the shape on there and get it close. All right, so we're pretty close there. I think what I'm gonna start to do is use the cutoff wheel to get it closer to this shape here, and then we'll use the grinder to really dial it in. So what I'm gonna do is cut that out a little bit, and we're gonna shave off this corner there. Well, there we go. That looks pretty close. All right, next we're gonna go here. Take this bottom piece off. All right, we're probably getting pretty close here. There we go. All we're really missing is our little notch in here. It's going to be tough to make with the cutoff wheel, but I think we're going to be able to do it. And there we go. So we just got to notch that in there. Got that notch notched out. I think we might be pretty close. I don't know. Let's get this under some light and take a closer look. All right, here's what we got. And thinking fits pretty good. I think we're gonna roll with that. Sure, it's a touch bigger than that, but you know, it just needs to transfer a signal, and I think that'll probably function just fine. We're gonna find out. I'm gonna go grind off the one that's still on the flywheel. I'm not gonna be able to show you that, but I'll show you what it looks like once I'm finished grinding, and we'll try to weld that on there. All right. So we've got our pin grinded off right there. Now all that's left is for us to weld this pin right in here.
Oh, it's super easy.
It's certainly not easy to see in here, and it's also gonna be tight to weld.
And it's gone.
We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna tack it in there. We're gonna see what happens. All right, so there we go. Probably not gonna win any welding awards for that glorious work, but I do think it's pretty close, maybe even in the same position. Now, the one thing I'm a little concerned about is that it does poke out just a touch past the flywheel. So what I'm gonna try to do is spin it around a little bit, make sure it's not going to touch this, the sensor, because obviously if it does, it's probably what broke it off to begin with. And of course, if it does touch this sensor, now the way that is, it ain't coming off, so it's likely to just break the sensor.
They keep doing this, just throw it away.
So I'll probably take a screwdriver, try to spin it around just to make sure it doesn't touch. All right, now we get to see if we have spark.
Just forget it!
All right, guys, so it's been about 2 weeks since I've had the 6 in my garage, and I really wanted to just get it running so we could take it out to the track and see what it does in standard form. But alas, it does not appear that it's going to be possible. Now, of course, you guys have already seen I fixed the flywheel. Literally every sensor on this thing is functioning properly. If we go inside here, you can see the dash is open over there because I was testing out every wire that's in the ECU to make sure it's getting the signal it's supposed to get. There is some ignition stuff going on in here, but all of that tests out. I rewired all of this stuff over here from what it was when I picked it up to what it is now. So I've got the battery stuff all rewired. Literally everything to my knowledge that would make this thing spark has been done. And I don't want to spend any more money on it, to be honest, because this isn't the final engine anyways. So I just guess that I'm gonna have to cry uncle on this one. We're gonna start pulling it out. That's gonna be for another video. And in that video, I think you're gonna see what's gonna go in. It's pretty exciting. And trust me when I tell you, I've never done anything like this before, so it should be an adventure for an idiot like me. But, you know, why do I keep spending all this money, time, and energy on old beaters like this that nobody cares about?
Why does he keep saying that?
It can only be for the love of cars, that's for sure. If you love cars as much as I do, hopefully you'll continue to watch, maybe tell a friend, and maybe even subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out. And you know what, guys? I'll see you in the next video.